It's my favorite day. Get ready with me to go see the plot in you. There are some big mistakes that you guys are making when you're going in for like a long wear kind of sweat-proof routine. So if you want to get ready with me and learn a little bit more about the mistakes that you're making when it comes to long wear makeup, please keep on watching. They're also playing with Boundaries, which I'm so excited about, and they're playing with Holding Absence. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's 10:20 a.m. The show is many, many hours away. I'm also gonna go hang out with Mob Beauty today in the lab. So I need to do my Bulletproof concert base, which is really not that far off from my regular base. I'm gonna go in with Hyper Real Serumizer first. You obviously know that skin prep is so important, but the one big mistake that I see all the time is people thinking that the more you put on, the more it lasts, which is like true to a degree, but not if you're just gonna slather on one big heavy layer of foundation and then spray it with spray and think that it's gonna be indestructible, because you've just created a super thick layer that setting spray kind of has to settle into, and it's never gonna reach the full layer of foundation. Serumizer Eye, my love. The first time that I saw Plot in You was in Quebec for Rockfest, and they like were just allowed over the border for like back into Canada for the first time. I don't remember why. But they're so good. And Landon Tours, his like solo stuff, so good, so dark, so twisted. I'm trying to use up what I have, and I was given this like La Mer lip mask thing. Let's put that on. The other thing too are like fixing sprays. So the ones that have film formers or like us that create that seal on the face. Yes, they're 100% needed, but these aerosol ones that are heavy in alcohol are not meant for every day. And I know that you guys want these indestructible routines that don't budge. Yes, it can happen, but the likelihood of what that will do to your skin long term and how great you can make the makeup look, your makeup doesn't have to be non-transfer. I know that that's gonna drive some of you crazy, but again, you have to ask yourself, do you want a base that is completely no transfer? It's gonna be thicker. It's gonna look less natural. It's gonna look more like makeup, or do you want something that moves with your face? Regardless of which side you want, there's ways to make things long wearing. But for me, I'm always gonna go with, I want it to move. Hydrating sprays is like the paper mache method. That's why I layer so much, which I will show you. Versus one singular spray at the end. Yes, you can do it, but that's where more is better. So instead of doing one thick layer of foundation and one continuous spray, you're gonna break it down to create your layers. Like, would you wanna eat lasagna that was just 2 pieces of noodle and then all the meat in the middle and then cheese on the top? Or would you rather have noodle, meat, cheese, noodle, meat, cheese, noodle, meat, cheese? If you said option 1, it's crazy behavior. Underpainting too really is a great way to get long wear makeup. I'm using Folio lipstick. It's my favorite thing to contour with. And sometimes too, you have to alter your prep to make it work for the product you might be changing. So some people don't want to wear, you know, long wear waterproof, you know, mascara or makeup, which is fine. But oftentimes what I've heard is people say like, I don't want to wear that because it feels dry, which no problem. I don't disagree with you. But is there something, if that truly is the best option, is there something that you can do to add to it in order to make it less dry for you? So if you find, for example, waterproof mascara, which is a staple if you're doing long wear, if it's too drying for you and you struggle to take it off, is it just that you need a primer underneath so it doesn't dry your lashes? Or you just don't have a strong enough makeup remover? And then from there, it's what's more important. Is it really a pain to buy a new like oil-based makeup remover? And then it's up to you. It's like, pick your priorities after that. It's either you do the waterproof mascara and buy oil-based makeup remover, wherever it's from, or you stick with the remover you have that's not strong enough, and you have to be okay with a little bit of transfer from your mascara. This is the Sephora contour stick, which I like it mixed in with Folio. I don't necessarily like it on its own. And I put too much. I'm gonna show you something that I used to do for Longwear, like sweat in the summer, that I haven't done in a really long time, and not with these products either. I used to do it with Face and Body, and then the Mob Beauty powder, the Dermabone powder. Don't know where either of those are, but I'm gonna go in with a thin layer of Strobe Dewy Skin Tint. And I'm sure you've, you know, seen what I'm about to do around to a degree. But this is good for extra security. Okay, Strobe Dewy. So what I wanna do is lock in this base layer with powder before we go in with our like fuller coverage products. I'm gonna use Pro Set and Blur on a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to lock this layer in place. The way you can think about it is if you were working in Photoshop, we're saving this layer. We wanna say, yep, she's good, she's great. So this is like the ultimate love it, lock it in, because we're using a dry powder as opposed to just working within our wet layers. Like so, like this. But now guess what? We're not done. We've locked it in, but we still need to work. Hydrating spray. Love it, lock it in. This is what's gonna allow you to work powder, cream to powder, and back and forth. So basically we just force those layers together. They're locked in place, we force them together, they're not gonna move. And now we have a surface that we can work on top of to keep building our Longwear. And lightly set. And again, like if you've seen people do this before, cool, no problem. However, when you're doing it yourself, be mindful of how much product you're using. You're going in with light layers because we still want this to look like skin. Now we're gonna work in our coverage, and you have to be so very mindful of the technique that you're using right now because you don't want to disrupt anything. And I just like this throughout the center. I really need to add blush because the contour is very strong. True Harmony. And the biggest mistake I see when people are trying this is they'll say like, oh my God, no, this is causing pilling. This is peeling off. This is separating. Those are all indications of wrong skin prep, wrong technique, wrong brushes, wrong, like too heavy handed. Like there's so many different factors. You want to keep working with your cream products and work like cream to wet to dry. Love it, lock it in. We now just sandwiched all of those together. Under eye. And one of the biggest things I can say too is Longwear makeup does not mean like indestructible. So I know that at some point during the day, there's gonna be a little oil buildup in this area. I'm gonna get sweaty at the show. It's going to get hot. My face is gonna get hot, but the makeup will still be there. It's not trying to stop my skin from doing what it wants to do. This is also like a gym proof routine as well, right? So you can physically sweat through it, but the sweat doesn't take off the makeup. It doesn't make it run, it doesn't make it separate. It just sort of exists. And another really big mistake that you guys make is that when the sweat is happening, you sort of touch it too soon. So depending on what your skin type is like, I know for me, if I get sweaty here, I can kind of just like tap it with my finger and it goes away. If I'm dripping sweat from up here, which doesn't happen often, but if it was, that you have to wait for it to dry. So you'd have to go back outside in regular air versus like concert air and just let it dry on its own. I need to go in with bronzer. I don't have any tanner on today. The cool thing too, when you layer powder in the way that I just did, is it kind of builds your coverage a little bit faster. Therefore, you're kind of forced to use thinner layers. Like I can't go in right now with the same sort of like buffing motion that I normally do. I have to be more mindful. I'm gonna tap in the larger areas. And not only when you, this looks really good. Not only when you tap to not disrupt what's underneath, you build more coverage too. It's almost like making your own like gripping primer. And I know gripping primers exist, but I don't like the feel of them. And if you don't own a gripping primer, use what you have to create the effect of it. Love it, lock it in. And then think about these like Love It, Lock It In layers as you're turning your powder products into a cream or liquid so you can keep working on them, but they still have their powder property to it. Oh, my under eye has been so nice lately. Like the way that Serumizer Eye makes the concealer look is unmatched. Like when I look back at old videos, like my concealer was good, but now it's great. So now pretty much all of my cream products are down. We can start setting strategically. So all of your cream products should be set with a like powder product to help with longevity. So I already set kind of like that cream contour with bronzer, but now I'm gonna set kind of the True Harmony blush as well with Global Glow. And now we can go back into the powder, and because this powder already exists in this routine, they're gonna love each other, they're gonna touch each other, and it's gonna be great. And for texture purposes, you don't have to go over top of where you just put powder down. Powders set anything. Any powder product that is dry will set something that's wet. You already have that security layer underneath with this kind of everywhere. There's no need to do a secondary layer, especially if you're concerned with texture. This mainly goes kind of where the concealer went. And it's another really big tip, is your makeup when you're doing, oh, this looks really good. Pro Set and Blur underneath, stop. This is my forehead up close. When you're doing makeup for longwear, this is where that heavy term comes into play. So you want to make sure right now that when you're looking at yourself, it looks a little bit more than you're used to. Maybe it's a little bit fuller coverage. Maybe it's a little bit more intense. So like this to me has more of like a glam look to it. So I'm like, ooh, personally. But I know that the way that it's gonna wear throughout the day is exactly what I need it to, because it has to work through those extra layers of security that we put down. I can't live without Studio Fix powder. So I'm putting Studio Fix powder under the eye. And I'm gonna do some contour powder just to amp up the shape a bit. I love it. If you're like, oh my God, Miss Megan, you just blew my mind. I don't even know where to begin. I have a free training that will help guide you on the art of long wearing makeup. DM me on Instagram for that. You can also join my free school community linked in the description below, schoolwithak.com/Miss Megan free school. And you'll be on your way to the most long wearing concert gym summer proof makeup routine that you ever did have. I'm pretty happy with the Radiance. I'll add, my makeup routine has to have M98 Hyaluronic Highlight Balm in it. However, I will be back home before I go to the show, so I can just add this on if I want to. So I'm gonna leave that out. Do my brows. And I do 24-hour eye base in my brows, so they're sweat proof regardless. For me, I need a little bit more blush, so I'm gonna put Margin on. Rip. Blush is usually the first thing that starts to fade on me, if anything. So you can afford to go a little bit heavier if you are in a similar boat. Yum. Very yum. Now you want something like this to be a final seal. These are fixing sprays. Has extra goodness inside that's gonna put that final seal onto the skin. Stay over for me helps prevent the fading from happening. So that's why it's a big yes for me, and they're alcohol free. Final seal, and you're still getting the Fix Plus like hydration piece from it too. And then once this is down, you can do your mascara. So if you guys struggle with like mascara moving and stuff like that, sometimes it's kind of the sprays that you're using. So your mascara can be the last step. Oh my God, I love this. Like it's my routine, but like amplified. And Pro Set and Blur underneath, good. And then very last step, very last step, strategic powder placement. So if you really needed a little bit of extra coverage somewhere or more matteness, you can kind of go in just in the areas you don't want to be matte. Oh. I love it. I will check in with you guys in a bit so I can show you kind of where the makeup is at. Thank you so much for watching. If anything in this video helped you, make sure you turn on post notifications so you never miss a post. Let me know what was the most mind-blowing thing that I said in this video that is going to help you. Come join me over on my school community, schoolwithak.com/Miss Megan Free School. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram, all under the same name at Miss Megan Robinson. Don't be late for school. And until then, I'll see you next time. Bye. I forgot to do a check-in when I was at the Mob Lab of the skin. So this is where like I can just sort of tap that away if it was like bothering me, but it doesn't bother me. And like, right? So this is makeup that's long wearing, but still moves with the skin, still looks like natural looking skin, still looks like skin, not that it's like on me. If I wanted to, I could go in and add, you know, more powder, but I don't want to do that.
I don't want to pay like $50 just to see that. I'm actually going to suck it like $30, but like I can do that.
I don't know what time it is. I literally just walked through the door. It's like 11 p.m. I prefer my regular routine without the powder personally, because I like to look shinier than this. Like this is still too matte for me. And like, again, the whole transfer proof thing, like you can touch, you can touch your face, even if something is not super matte and super locked in, and it's fine.